I love books. Books to me are a great way to learn. So I'm continually picking up books on topics I need to learn about, for marketing, for time management, for all the various things I need for running my business and for teaching others. But I ran into a problem with books is how do you apply the principles? Because the books have a lot of information in them, but it's also interspersed with history and stories and different things. And it's very hard flipping through the book to actually get to the points you need. I really think almost every book should have a workbook or a checklist that comes with it to implement the particular things you learn in it. Some do, but very, very few of them. So for those that don't, here's a technique that I've come up with for me that works fantastic for the lessons I learned from a book. So this is a copy of a book, picture here, of a book called Web Copy That Sells, and it is from Maria Veloso, and it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. So it's about copywriting for the web, which is something I really need to learn. So as I was going through the book, I read the book and I started to mind map it. I used mind mapping to pull out the points I needed so that I could review them. So I broke into 3 parts: general rules, blueprint, and just something to help me with brainstorming headlines. So under the general rules, when I open the section, you'll see I've got these things here, and I numbered some of them to make sure I go in order. And the first section is don't make your website look like an ad. So this is one of the first things in copywriting. You don't want your website to just look like an ad. And some of the other tips were, treat it from an approach of advice, as an editorial, provide case studies, endorsements, testimonials, things like that. Stopping readers dead in their tracks. So I broke that down into things like having powerful headlines, drama, curiosity, and creating a sense of urgency. And a key thing for me is I wanted to focus on primarily capturing email addresses. So I really only sell to my existing list. So all my web copy is meant to build my list. The first look, people look at the headlines and the most important content above the fold before they scroll down. And you want a testimonial really early in your copy because it influences the rest. Style that she suggests for writing should be conversational. Use contractions. Don't write like you're a corporate memo maker. Avoid corporate jargon, and to use simple non-academic language. When people read in the web, they go by bullet points, they scan, they look for highlights, they look for meaningful subheadings. You want like one idea per paragraph. You want your key points and conclusions first. And so that's just a kind of an overview of what I did as general rules. I also created sort of a blueprint for my web copywriting of how do I actually do this? So before, I have to know my objective, know my target audience, know my product or service. I have to ask these 5 questions. What's the problem? Why hasn't it been solved? What's possible? What's different now? And what should you do now? Each of these has more information. Like for the what's the problem, put it in writing, a few sentences. And the readers, when they read it, must say, wow, he really gets me. He really understands me. And so on. You see there's information under each one of these. Then there's additional stuff, fleshing it out, adding benefits, not features, your unique selling proposition, and so on and so forth. And then the offer and these kinds of things. And then down below, I've got some headline tips on brainstorming headlines. So some writing stuff here, brainstorming some headlines. So a lot of different information. So effectively, what I've done is I've created, in essence, my own checklist or my own workbook from a really good book. And I highly recommend the book, as I say. So this doesn't replace the book, but this just is a way for me to put the steps in bullet points so that I can more easily follow them. So give it a try yourself. The tool I'm using for mind mapping is Xmind at xmind.net. And it's a technique I highly recommend. This would work great for business people, for organizations, anybody who's having to learn anything, and even students. I think this is a great way for students as well. Thank you for listening. And if you want to know more, visit captaintime.com.